Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. So, preseason hockey began today, officially. We've been doing like global series for the past 2 days or so, but officially, other teams started playing in preseason hockey. And right now, I have Avalanche versus Wild on. I'm enjoying myself with hockey returning. But regardless, we got Toronto versus Ottawa to review here today. So, it took place in Ottawa. It started off with Forsberg versus Petrozelli. I can't spell. And he did eventually swap out for Dennis Hildeby, who would get time later on in the game. First period started off immediately with a penalty on Toronto with Max Domi for tripping. So in his first official game with Toronto, he immediately takes a penalty. So I thought that was kind of funny. There was nothing there. The penalty was killed off. Then followed immediately after was a Senators penalty. It was Zach McEwen for tripping. And then Toronto kind of took off here a little bit. A Domi shot was wide. A Lajoie shot was denied. And then the penalty was killed off. But Toronto at that point had like a 4-0 shot lead. They definitely took the advantage a little bit early on Ottawa there. But then Ottawa came back, and they came back hard. A Stützle one-timer shot was stopped. A Kastelik shot was stopped. A Riley shot was stopped. A Clifford shot was stopped. Then a penalty came on William Villeneuve for slashing. And as a result, Ottawa got a goal from that. It was Brady Tkachuk with his first of the preseason, and it was 1-0 Ottawa from Bailey and Giroux. So Josh Bailey there on a pro-trial contract in this game. I thought he played well, had some good points, but he wasn't too noticeable out there, which isn't the worst thing in the world. There was a penalty on Toronto. It was Alex Steeves for tripping. I thought Steeves, despite the penalty, had a pretty good game, especially in the second period. Was getting a lot of chances, did well. There was a Sanderson shot that was stopped. A Tkachuk chance was stopped, and then eventually it was killed off. Nylander came in 1-0, tried doing a one-hand deke, and then he was denied. It actually went wide, apologies. There was a Tkachuk shot that was stopped, and then following that right afterwards, Tim Stützle gets one from Sanderson and Schmeichel and makes it a 2-0 Senators hockey game there. And pretty much from there, the first period ended. It was 2-0 Ottawa. Shots were 24-7 in favor of the Senators. So a very dominant period there by Ottawa. But it didn't end there. Toronto came back in that second period, and they came back very, very hard. The Senators did not get a lot of shots in that second period. It started off with a Parker Kelly penalty for tripping. There was nothing in it. It was killed off. Toronto on the power play today looked kind of bad, if I'm being honest, but it didn't really matter. They still barely lost. A Villeneuve shot was stopped. A Nylander backhand was denied. And then following that backhand, William Legason gets one from Timmins and Nyes to make it a 2-1 hockey game. And then following that, Rook Chartier of Ottawa gets a penalty, and it was for interference. So a Domi shot was blocked there. A Steve shot was stopped, and then eventually the penalty was killed off. So, again, Toronto on the power play didn't look that good either. They just didn't look the best. And it is preseason. You're gonna see stuff like that happen, but of course. Steve's shot was stopped. Shots were 11-2 Toronto halfway, so they were putting the pressure there on Anton Forsberg, and it was showing for sure. But Forsberg held his ground throughout the entire game. I thought he looked great, and had a 35 save performance. A Clifford shot was denied. A Nylander shot was stopped. There was a Steve's one-timer that was stopped, and then Jacob Bernard-Docker gets a penalty for holding, and then Tyler Kleven gets a penalty for high sticking. So it's 5-on-3 there for Toronto. They call a timeout. Guy Boucher, former coach of Ottawa, is handling that power play. So obviously they wanted to come out running. Immediately there was a Sanderson shorthanded chance that was stopped during that penalty. A Lajoie shot was stopped, and a Steve shot was stopped. And then eventually, with 1 second left on the Toronto power play, Alex Steeves gets one from Hervonen, and it's tied 2-2. So it took them forever to get to that, but then they eventually bounced back, and Steeves, who I said, again, had a very good game, gets himself on the board there. Right after that was a penalty on Toronto, Kyle Clifford, for goalie interference. You don't see those calls too often, not during the regular season at least. And then Ottawa gets a power play goal. So just like that, Ottawa takes the lead again. It's Tim Stützle. He's his second of the game, makes it 3-2 from Sanderson and Tkachuk. I thought Brady Tkachuk also had a very good game. overall. And that pretty much did it for the second. It's 3-2 Ottawa after two. Shots were 24-28 in favor of Ottawa. Even though the shots were in favor of them, Toronto had themselves a great period there shots wise, and Ottawa didn't have many shots throughout that. They had 4 shots, and for a while they didn't have a shot for like 10 minutes until that Stützle power play goal. So all it takes is one shot. Third period, Dennis Hildeby came in and swapped out for Peruzzi. Sokolov hit the iron. Mantipalo's shot was stopped. You saw a lot of guys here that obviously, were getting shots, like was Bernard Docker, Sokolov, Martin Palo. You saw guys getting chances here. There was a Stützle shot that was stopped. A Highmore chance was stopped. I thought Highmore, even though I didn't say him a lot in this game review, I thought he looked great. I thought he looked like a very active player out there. Shots were 30-30 halfway through the third. There was a Zub shot that was stopped. A Domi shot was stopped, and eventually around the 2:30 mark, Toronto pulled their goalie, and then Ottawa got a penalty for too many men following that. And, that looked like Toronto was going to get a chance there to win this game, or at least tie this game. And O'Reilly's shot was stopped, a Nylander shot was stopped, a Minton shot was stopped, and that was it. Ottawa won that game 3-2. 3 stars, I'd say, were probably Anton Forsberg, first star. I'd say Stützle, second star, and then Nylander, third star. I thought he had a good game. Was very active out there for Toronto. But yeah, overall, definitely a nice preseason game to watch. I'm happy that hockey's back. I may do one later tonight. I was thinking about it. I may or may not. But regardless, I want to get as many of these preseason game reviews out there as possible so some of their teams, the fans of this channel, can go and watch game reviews of their teams. Yeah. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below on this one. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe down below. We really appreciate it. But yeah, we'll keep doing these. I got a game on right now, so I'm going to enjoy that. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.